Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 Escondido City Planning Commission meeting to order. Would you all raise for the flag salute? Commissioner Spear will lead us today.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And could we have the roll call?
Chair Paul.
Yes, present.
Vice Chair Barbe. Commissioner Barber.
Here.
Commissioner Fitzgerald. Commissioner Maccaro. Commissioner Spear.
Present.
And Commissioner Weiler.
Here.
The next item is written communications and oral communications. Do we have anything tonight? No. Okay. Next item is our public hearing, PL 23-0109, Downtown Specific Plan Text Amendment to the Creekside Neighborhood District List of Allowable Uses. Take it away.
Thank you, Chair Paul, and good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ivan Flores, and I'm an Associate Planner with the Planning Division. Tonight, I'll be presenting on PL 23-0109, which is a request to amend the list of permitted and conditional uses within the Creekside Neighborhood District of the Downtown Specific Plan. Just for some background, the Downtown Specific Plan was adopted on August 7th, 2013 by the City Council. The document has been amended over the course of the last decade to address changes in land use patterns and to facilitate the development of a lively downtown area. Karina Kennedy, who's a representative for James Coffee Company, submitted a request to amend the list of permitted and conditional uses for properties in the Creekside Neighborhood District. On March 22nd, 2023, the City Council authorized the intake of the application and a reduction of fees for processing the application. The Planning Commission's role tonight is to make a recommendation to the City Council on the project. The project is located in the General Plan Land Use Designation of Downtown Specific Plan SPA 9, as shown on the left. And within the zoning map, it is designated Specific Plan Area, also known as the Downtown Specific Plan. The request for a text amendment was initiated by the applicant. The specific site that is the subject property initiating the amendment is located at 341 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's primarily surrounded by non-residential uses to the south, east, and west, with residential uses located to the north. On the left side of the PowerPoint slide, you'll see the Creekside Neighborhood District. And on the right side, you'll see an aerial of the same area of the Creekside Neighborhood District, but this is just to give the Planning Commission some sort of sense of locational awareness as to where the project is. The green portion of the aerial on the right side is the subject property, while the red denotes the Creekside Neighborhood District boundaries. As stated earlier, this is a request to amend the list of permitted and conditional uses. And so as it relates to an actual change in the document itself, the only text amendment that's being done is to permit all types of eating establishments providing meal services for on-site operating commercial grade kitchens and or dessert services for on-site operating commercial grade freezers or refrigerators with or without incidental sale of alcohol, with no amplified live entertainment or dancing. It's important to note here that this text amendment would only apply to the properties located to the south of Pennsylvania Avenue due to its commercial build out. On this image, you'll see the affected properties. It's approximately 12 properties south of Pennsylvania Avenue that would now be allowed to have restaurant uses. As you can see, most of it is already fully built out. However, there are some commercial spaces there that could take advantage of this opportunity. The blue area denotes the subject property that will that initiated the request for the text amendment. As it relates to the environmental review, the project is exempt under the CEQA guidelines, section 15601, also known as the common sense exemption, as it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant impact on the environment. Based on the staff analysis and the staff report, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2023-10, recommending approval to the City Council. That will conclude staff's presentation, and the applicant is here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak? Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, you have questions of staff or the applicant?
My only question would be, why wasn't this originally permitted? Were there concerns, or was it just an oversight?
That's a very good question. This document was adopted long before my time, but I would assume just due to the residential makeup of the Creekside Neighborhood District, that was a potential reason as to why it wasn't allowed, but unfortunately, off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you definitively why that was left out.
Could you bring up that map again that showed the whole
course.
Creekside District? Right. So, David, I guess the whole area would have been considered before, and now they're saying they're just going to consider this piece down on Pennsylvania. So they're carving out, right? You're carving out a smaller part of
That
the
is
Creekside
that is
neighborhood.
correct. Staff felt that it would be appropriate to really limit it to the south side of Pennsylvania Avenue, given the commercial makeup of that area, and the residential uses that are really focused in the center of the Creekside Neighborhood District.
Thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Chairman Paul.
I have a question. I mean, I'm looking, I guess, at Ivy Street, and just outside of this area, we are in a use that is consistent with what's being proposed in terms of, I guess there's a restaurant right there off of Ivy, right? Is what I'm seeing.
Are you talking about 210 Ivy Street? I would assume 210 North Ivy Street.
Might be that one. It's looks like there is a restaurant there. And I guess one of my questions is, so staff was looking at restricting this use to just this area, and I'm going back to the rationale for that. I think you said it was because this is intended for a commercial area. What was the rationale for limiting it?
That is correct. That a lot of these properties that are going to be affected by the text amendment, these 12 properties located south of Pennsylvania, are essentially already built out commercial buildings. And staff felt that it would be appropriate to limit it to just this side of the property. There are what appears to be commercial buildings off of Washington Avenue, in which it still encompasses the Creekside Neighborhood District. But based off of this request, staff felt it would be appropriate to just limit it to these 12 properties, and to really provide a buffer to the residential uses directly across Pennsylvania Avenue.
And I believe there was no commenting by the public on this issue. Is that correct?
That is correct. We notified all the property owners that own property within the Creekside Neighborhood District, in addition to the 500-foot radius that we normally do.
Stan, anything?
No, I don't have any comments. I see the rationale behind it, and I don't have any questions.
So I have a question. Would there otherwise be allowed liquor sales in that area?
No, I don't believe off the top of my head that we allow liquor establishments in the Creekside Neighborhood District. The request is specifically for restaurants. To sell alcohol, you need a certain type of license from the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. Essentially, you need what's called the Type 41, and then you need to have a bona fide restaurant. So this would be strictly limited to restaurant-type uses.
So where's how do I say this? So in other areas in this plan, besides the Creekside neighborhood, alcohol sales are allowed? Just not in the Creekside neighborhood?
Oh, actually, conveniently, we have food and liquor sales here, and it does not appear that liquor stores packaged are allowed in any of the districts. If it's associated with a general grocery store, it looks like you can have some sort of liquor license to sell alcohol. So if you see the bottom two, or the bottom three. So in these zoning districts, you're allowed to sell alcohol as long as you're a grocery store, but we don't allow liquor stores by themselves.
So, I mean, how about a bar, let's say, I mean, a drinking establishment?
We allow wine and beer tasting establishments in all the districts with the exception of the Creekside neighborhood, and that would be the last row here.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right, okay. And those are all Ps.
Those are all Ps with the exception of the Creekside neighborhood. That is correct.
Okay. So we're basically moving one street out of the Creekside neighborhood and moving it into the commercial areas.
Essentially, yes. I mean, the historic district is to the south of it, which is adjacent to Grand Avenue and East Valley Parkway. But, you know, like I stated, it's a very limited amount of properties that can now become restaurants.
Oh, okay. Any discussion or motion?
Move adoption of Resolution 2023-10.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Chair Paul,
Yes, approve.
Commissioner Barber,
Approve.
Commissioner Spear,
Approve.
and Commissioner Weiler.
Yes.
The vote is 4-0 to approve the resolution.
Thank you. On the agenda, current business, seeing none. Future agenda items, does anyone have something they'd like to add to future agenda? Okay, I do have one item. There's a document created by the San Diego Seniors Community Foundation, and they've labeled it the San Diego Regional Senior Center Master Business Plan. And I'd like to distribute copies to the rest of the Planning Commission and then maybe have a conversation about this at a future meeting.
So
Do I need a second?
you need someone
for
else
that?
to be on board. Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm used to seconding everything.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Stan.
I'll second that.
All right.
Great. So
Okay.
if you would want to get me a copy.
Yeah,
of
I
it,
will,
sure.
right, I will send this to you. Great.
Thank
Oral communications, seeing there's no audience left. Planning Commissioner reports. All right. City Planners report.
Nothing today, other than you won't have to see me next week because we're not meeting for the first time in a month and a half. So
Okay, can we do one of these informational presentations pretty soon?
yeah, we've been obviously a bit busy with a lot of the other work. We will be able to get to something hopefully in the next month or so. We'll be able to bring something forward. I've got to talk with our director and see what's kind of on the agenda or on the radar for him and what might make sense. So.
Well, I'm thinking of our newest planning commissioner, and so I'm thinking the California Environmental Quality Act or the CFDs.
Yeah, the CEQA 101 is always a fun one. So that sounds good. I'll target that, or if there's anything else. I usually like to put the CEQA discussion immediately, or not immediately, but when we've got an item coming forward. Unfortunately, we had an EIR that was part of the discussion over the course of the last month, part of that project, and there was no way to do a CEQA primer ahead of that. But when we get into projects, and before we definitely before we have another project that's going to have an in-depth CEQA review, we'll make sure we bring that as well.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll get one of these things going soon.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.